officially a multiracial kind of society. And we have the majority race in Singapore is Chinese, like myself. But we also have people from the Malay and Indian and Eurasian communities. So Eurasian meaning, like mixed blood from different countries that have, lived and in Singapore for a few generations already. So for me, my family speak English at home, but other Chinese families, some of them are more comfortable speaking Mandarin, like
Mandarin,
like those from mainland China. So my grandfather was from mainland China, my grandparents, and they settled in Malaysia for a bit and moved down to Singapore. My parents were born here, so now I associate myself more with Singapore than China, but my parents are like in between, right? Because they were from China with my grandparents, and now they stay here. So I would say everybody can speak English. That is kind of like the common language. But in your own household, some people are more comfortable speaking Mandarin, Chinese, or Malay, or Tamil, or other languages that their parents or grandparents spoke.
Okay, guys, we are live. So thank you, Shane, to be here with us. Shane is the marketing manager for Kyber Network, not only Kyber Swap. And today we would like to understand better how Kyber born and what was the goal at the very beginning, and give a focus on the recent changes. So basically what we are expect to have with Catalyst. So the first question for you, Sean, is tell us a bit how Kyber born as an idea and as a group. How many people you are there? Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. Very happy to get the chance to speak here with the DeFi Italy community. I've actually been to Italy before, but the last time was in 2017. Had very good memories there. So yeah, glad to at least talk to the Italian community again. So Kyber
for crypto events or
I was in another company then. So actually I was working in Germany for about half a year, and I traveled. I had a good Italian buddy in Treviso. So I was in Ljubljana. I took a van down to Treviso, spent like Christmas there, went to Verona, traveled a bit, northern part of Italy. So it was great. Yeah. So regarding the question, so Kyber, a fun fact, right? Some of you might be wondering why the name Kyber Network. So if some of you are Star Wars fans, actually the rumor that I heard, I wasn't around during the ICO, but what I heard from my colleagues is that there was an advisor who was a Star Wars fan, and Kyber stands for the Kyber crystal in the Jedi or Sith lightsaber. So somehow the name stuck. They all liked it, and it is now the name for the whole company and the project. But I think it's a catchy name. I like it. But I was curious, how are the founders all Star Wars fans? Actually, they're not like super Star Wars fans, but yeah. So that's an interesting fun fact. So Kyber, I think, it was born out of an idea based on the challenges that our founders saw at the time in early 2017. So our founders are Loy Lu is the CEO, Victor is now the CTO, and Yaron, who was previously our CTO and he's now our technical advisor. And they're all very technically savvy, right? They have very strong technical expertise, and they worked on certain projects in the decentralized space before. For example, Oriente, it's a smart contract audit tool. It was, I think the GitHub is now maintained by Melon, but Oriente was used by Quantstamp as part of their whole suite of different tools to audit smart contracts. And Loy also worked on Elastico, a research paper about sharding solutions. That actually directly inspired Zilliqa, which is now one of the promising scaling solutions right now. And another project that they worked on before was Smart Pool. That was the decentralization of mining pools. And even in the cross-chain field, Loy worked on something called Peace Relay, which was a bridge between Bitcoin and Ethereum. So they were focusing on a lot of different challenges on the blockchains, like the trilemma, right? Scalability, decentralization, and security. But what they realized in early 2017 was that there was no easy way for people to convert one crypto asset to another. And so they set out to actually solve that problem. At the time, the earliest implementation of like what we call a DEX now is like Ether Delta, right, or Fork Delta. And the UI, UX at the time wasn't very good. And yeah, so there were a lot of people with fat fingers that make a wrong trade, or it was non-custodial, that was good, but there was a lot of challenges there for that decentralized exchange space. So that's why Kyber's founders, they decided to work on that problem to come up with a totally trustless, non-custodial way to swap between assets built on top of the Ethereum blockchain, which it's the most, for now, it's the most popular blockchain among devs and developers. And Vitalik was our advisor, and naturally they worked on Ethereum as well.
Oh.
Yeah, just a brief intro on how it started. So I joined Kyber only in early 2018. So about 2 years. I wasn't there during the ICO, but I heard a lot of good things about Kyber. I did my own research then, and like I followed them really closely during the period. So when I started looking for a role in the crypto space, naturally I wanted to find one that is in Singapore, where I stayed, and yeah, the office was here. The business office was here. So that's how I got into Kyber.
The perfect match.
Yeah.
And Sean, okay, now can you please describe what are the different products inside Kyber? Because Kyber, it's really horizontal project. Yeah. There is the protocol behind, and then different applications, right?
Yes. So, like I mentioned earlier, essentially what we do is allow the decentralized exchange of token assets on top of Ethereum. And this protocol that we provide, this tag, can actually be integrated with any decentralized application for their liquidity needs. So, for example, Edu Wallet, a very popular wallet in Italy and Europe, they have integrated Kyber's technology natively, and now you can swap any token that Kyber supports within the Edu Wallet. SNX Link integrated our widget, so if you need to buy SNX with a different token, you can do that. So essentially, the protocol allows that decentralized, trustless, seamless token swaps in any application. That is the core functionality. And how do we allow that, right? So for dApps that integrate with us, that is like what we call the taker side, the dApps that use our liquidity. But where does the liquidity come from? On the other side of the protocol are our makers, or market makers. We call them reserves. I think they are more commonly known as liquidity providers in the space. So any token team or individual or market maker, they can come to Kyber, set up a reserve or something like a liquidity pool, and provide the token inventory, the liquidity for these tokens to all the dApps that integrate with Kyber. So right now we have about 40 over different reserves, and all of them are contributing liquidity to the protocol. And any application that integrate with it, they also get access to that liquidity. So in general, that is how the protocol works. If you're talking about other products, we have an in-house product called Kyber Swap, like you mentioned. So Kyber Swap, just like any other dApp, like Edu Wallet or SNX Link that integrate with the protocol, Kyber Swap is an interface for the decentralized exchange of tokens. So Kyber Network is the protocol layer sitting on top of Ethereum. Kyber Swap is just one of the, now we have almost 100 different applications that are building using our protocol. So Kyber Swap is just one of it, but it's our own like in-house product. Anybody can go to kyberswap.com and trade more than 70 different tokens that we support in a decentralized manner.
Yeah, I understand.
And
you have developed also the mobile applications. For example, in your last ecosystem report, there was distinctions between Kyber Swap iOS, Kyber Swap Android. So everyone can download now the app, and when download the app, it's like the Kyber Swap app, and they can interact with the protocol through their mobile application, right?
Yes. So the mobile app is just an extension of the website. So kyberswap.com was the initial website, and we realized that people like to trade on the go, so they created an interface also for the Android or iOS users. But one distinction that I wanted to highlight is that Kyber Swap and Kyber Network, we are going to make this even more clear in the future, is very separate, right? So Kyber Swap is like a front-end interface, has its own company, its own team working on it. It's just one of the many applications using Kyber's protocol. But the Kyber Network is a separate team, and we are going to make this even more clear, more distinct, right? More obvious over time. And the Kyber Network team will focus on helping to improve and optimize the liquidity protocol. And we will soon have a decentralized autonomous organization, the Kyber DAO, to govern that protocol as well. So Kyber Swap will be increasingly separate from Kyber Network. And we don't want there to be any kind of like a bias towards Kyber Swap in a way, even though the name is the same. There's a Kyber is in the name as well. And obviously there are certain shared resources for the time being, but in the long run, we want to make it clear that, you know, the Kyber Network and Kyber Swap team is different.
Yeah. And based on the question of Emiliano before, because when we were in Denver, we discussed also with your colleague
Anton.
Anton.
Nakip or Anton? Okay.
Anton, yeah, and he said us, and we were really impressed about this, that the number of people that work in the Kyber network is really few people, right?
So we have about I think 40 plus people across the world now. So majority of our developers are actually in Vietnam. Two of our co-founders are Loy and Victor. Yeah, 40. I'm not sure the exact number, but around there. But two of our co-founders are from Vietnam, Victor and Loy. So naturally, we have a team, a big team in Vietnam, but the business office is in Singapore, and that's where I'm based. But we are pretty like multicultural, right? We have people from Korea, Philippines, Greece, Cyprus, Vietnamese, Israelis, Japanese. Yeah, so we have a good mix. Yeah, but I would say
the thing that impressed us is that Anton said that there are 40 more people, but the technical people that were working on the Kyber network and the Kyber protocol are really few. It's like 5-8 people, something like that.
Oh, I think he maybe meant the Singapore team.
Okay.
So the Singapore team, the team, the main developers working with us are Anton, Desmond. Yeah, like he said, a small team of developers.
It's a small team, yeah.
Yeah, the whole Singapore team is pretty small, because it's more like the business office. But a lot of our developers are working in Vietnam.
Great. And moving ahead with the comparing the initial idea for the Kyber Network Crystal token and the new token economy. What you can say about why you chose that initial strategy at the very beginning, and why did you change recently with this new approach with the DAO and so on? So which are the steps toward the full decentralization in this sense?
Yeah, I would say the approach we are taking is kind of what you call progressive decentralization. So right from the beginning, we have in mind a liquidity protocol that can serve the entire Ethereum and decentralized finance space, right? The DeFi space. And the DeFi space needs decentralized liquidity. And of course, the protocol itself, we hope to make it as decentralized as possible. So right now, our liquidity is fully on-chain, right? So our liquidity has no off-chain components. When dApps integrate with us, everything is transparent, censorship resistant, and it's trustless. You know that whatever trade you make, you can look at it on the Etherscan and see the exact transaction. You know what's going to happen. The trade either happens or fails, right? We don't control your money. So the swaps are fully decentralized. But of course, the control of the protocol, we know, we are aware that for Kyber is, at this point in time, we are making a lot of decisions when it comes to how to upgrade the protocol, how to carry out certain marketing efforts or technical changes. So, but the ideal situation is that over time, we want to empower our community, our KNC holders. We want to give them a voice in how the protocol progress in the future. So with that in mind, we came up with, we developed and designed this new token model where the KNC token can be used as a governance token to vote for certain key protocol parameters, decisions to change certain aspects of the protocol, to change the incentive system, and which will in turn help to accelerate growth in the number of, let's say, liquidity providers on the protocol in terms of the number of dApps like Edu Wallet or SNX Link that uses. So we want the whole DeFi ecosystem and community to obviously become KNC holders as well, so that they can decide how this liquidity protocol is going to evolve. And it's very important to liquidity providers and for takers to be in charge of this. And so we want to design a system which allows them to help us make these decisions. And that's why we developed the DAO. And just to go a little bit more detail about the change in the token. So with this Kyber DAO, anybody that stakes KNC tokens on the DAO, smart contracts, they are able to have some voting power. And there could be a proposal on how much fees should be given to the liquidity providers, how much fees should be used to burn KNC, and how much fees can be used to reward people who stake the KNC token on the DAO as a way to incentivize them to vote. So they can make decisions like this, and if they vote, they are able to get rewards based on this network fees. And these network fees are collected from all the trading volume that occurs, not all, but yeah, I mean, I won't go into the specific details, but mainly from trading volume that occurs throughout the Kyber network. Fees are collected, and these fees are distributed in this manner, either to the staking, as staking rewards, ready to burn KNC, or to reward the liquidity providers that help generate volume for Kyber.
That's quite interesting.
So, and how it works, the burning that you mentioned? Yes, how you burn token? You buy tokens and burn, or you buy tokens in your reserve?
No, so we buy tokens to burn. So, for example, using, let's say, Edu Wallet, if in the new upgrade after Catalyst is launched sometime around end June, let's say somebody trades on Edu Wallet, one token to another, and on the back end is actually using Kyber's liquidity. A certain percentage of that trade value is taken out as a network fee automatically. And from this network fee, a certain percentage will be this network fee will be probably taken out in ETH, right? Because all the token swaps that happen is through ETH. And this ETH will be used to convert to KNC, which will then be burnt, meaning taken out of circulation from the entire network forever. So KNC, in that sense, because it gives rewards to stakers, it's they are staking rewards, but because there's a certain percentage that's also burnt entirely, it's also deflationary. So from our understanding, from what I've seen in the space, DeFi space so far, our token is is either the only or one of the few that has a deflationary element as well as a staking reward element. So the supply is going to decrease over time, but if you stake, you also get and vote. You must stake and vote. You also get rewards. So most staking rewards are usually inflationary, meaning the token supply is increasing. Yeah, but for us, we design it in a way that it's both deflationary as well as with rewards.
The KNC rewards are coming from the fees, or part of them are coming from the company reserves? So it's
from the fees.
From the fees, okay. So yes. It's not an increase of the total supply, of the circulating supply. The circulating supply is still the same, but will be deflated because some of the fees will be burned, right?
Yes. But to your point about companies' tokens, we do have tokens in our own reserves that are used for operational costs. I have no idea how much that is, but I think if you look at the public multi-sig address, you have some idea, but I don't know the specifics. But in general, we obviously have KNC tokens that we can use for our runway, right, over the next few years. And we also have a treasury team that helps manage the whole process. So yeah, like we have reserves.
That's great.
Yeah, and I would like to ask you, now with the launch of Catalyst and the Kyber DAO, you are going to have to give the opportunity to holders to delegate someone others to perform specific operations, and there is a concept of pool. So can you explain better how they works and what the holders can or are suggested to do?
Yes, exactly like you said. So as I mentioned earlier, you need to, in order to get the staking rewards, you need to stake KNC on our Kyber DAO. So we are building an interface, kyber.org. It's not live yet, but we are building a web interface, and that can also be used on the dev browsers of different wallets or any Web3 browser. And you can stake the KNC there, but you need to manually vote on every proposal every 2 weeks. So this is a bit of a hassle to some people, right? Obviously, this is the most sovereign way you can do it. You have full control. You can just stake your KNC, vote, and then you can claim ETH rewards from the DAO. But it's a bit of a hassle. Every 2 weeks, you need to vote. 2 weeks is the rough estimate time for each EPO, right? Just the voting period. And so an easy way for people to stake and not vote themselves, but to let other people vote on their behalf, is to delegate their voting power to another Ethereum address. So this address becomes so-called like a pool, right? So a few days back, we released a blog post outlining a few options for people to be a pool operator. Yes. So the first option, obviously, is just to provide an interface for people to stake and delegate to you. But the thing is, you will hold custody of their ETH rewards. So the KNC that they stake on the DAO is non-custodial. They can control. But the DAO will, because you are the delegated, you're the address that they delegated to, your address will hold the ETH rewards that the DAO distributes after every epoch. And that makes you in custody.
You are saying because you are the delegate, you will receive the rewards on behalf of the users?
Yes, that is the default delegation.
The default,
basic, the one of the options, right? The first option, you receive their ETH rewards, you come up with your own mechanism to distribute it back to them, but they have to trust you that you distribute. Like for example, Simone, you might want to delegate to Emiliano, and you trust that he will give you your relevant ETH rewards, right? Minus some fee. So you have to trust him. So this is the first option. Maybe not the best option, but one of the options. Another option that we are currently developing and that should be ready by launch is trustless smart contract proxy option. So with this trustless smart contract proxy, you can delegate your voting power to the smart contract, and the DAO will distribute the ETH rewards automatically to the smart contract when the pool operator votes on behalf of the KNC holder. And because it's a smart contract, it's non-custodial, it will just remain there, the ETH, and the KNC holder, the staker, he can just claim the ETH anytime in the future. And everything is transparent on the blockchain in a trustless manner. So this is the second option, which is in a way better, right? Nobody hosts rewards.
Yeah. So the
another option.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, you wanted
No. Please, we do the question at the end. We thought that there was just two options. No problem. Please.
Okay.
Sorry, Shane.
So the third option is what we call a pool token. So I'm sure a lot of your users and yourselves, you have been liquidity providers on Uniswap before. So when you contribute liquidity on Uniswap, you get something like an IOU token, right? Like a
share
liquidity token, as a way to prove that you provided liquidity, and then when you want to withdraw, you put it back. Similarly, we are working with like a startup on this method, where you can deposit KNC, you can stake KNC in a pool, right? Which is like a trustless voting pool, and in return you will mint a certain pool token. Let's say A token or K token, any name, right? And with that token, you are able to have a claim on whatever KNC that you staked earlier. And this pool token will accrue value over time, because whenever the pool operator votes, he gets rewards, right, in ETH. The DAO will distribute ETH rewards to the pool. These ETH rewards will automatically be converted to KNC into the pool. So there will be more KNC, ideally, right, over time, there will be more KNC in the pool than originally. And you holding the pool token, you can withdraw more KNC than you originally put in, because you have a claim to the KNC there with your pool token. It's like it's similar to how the Uniswap liquidity pool tokens work, where because liquidity fees are being added to the liquidity pool, to your original kind of tokens that you put there, you can claim the original liquidity that you put into the Uniswap with your Uniswap liquidity token. So it's similar in the sense.
So in this sense, it's like an interest-bearing token, but the mechanism for giving the interest is just the fact that you participating in voting. That's all.
Yes.
I mean, that's all. I mean, just to simplify. So the third option is very appealing. I mean that because it's very similar to many users, mental pattern about how to, use tokens. We saw that this year will be the year of, liquidity providers and something like this. This is pretty interesting. Also related to maybe some discussion about automation related to this. But my question is, okay, the user delegate a pool to vote, but how the vote counts in the DAO decision? I mean, if I'm a big KNC holder or I'm a big KNC pool, I count more than others, or there are some other, not so exotic but different techniques related to voting, like for example quadratic voting or other techniques.
So, yeah, personally for me, I'm quite interested in quadratic voting itself, and I think Vitalik also has always tried to talk about it and promote the use of quadratic voting in DAOs. So for us at Kyber, we actually experimented with DAO Stack and Aragon DAO platforms before, and they are both, and there are other projects as well in the DAO space like Molo, and these projects are all innovating a lot in how to really deploy a very fair and very trustless kind of environment for people to vote on decisions. So that space is definitely very interesting. But what we realized for our own Kyber community, at least at this point in time, right, is we, to suit the needs of our community and our protocol, we designed our DAO to be as simple and straightforward as possible. It's literally the KNC you hold, right, represents the voting power that you have in relation to the amount staked, the amount voted for that campaign. So that brings to mind, right, a situation like what happened to Steemit and Hive, right, where there could be a case where a third party or malicious party in other situations could control a lot of the votes and decide on something that might not be good for the protocol in the long run. So the way that we are approaching progressive decentralization is more on achieving some form of rough consensus in, let's say, our Discord discussions. And from there, maybe on Reddit, we could also have a poll. On Discord, we can have a poll that is not on-chain, off-chain polls. And from there, through some kind of a rough consensus, we put up certain options for people to vote on. So even if there is a whale or some certain parties with a lot of KNC and voting power, none of the options that they choose, right? The Kyber team still has considerable, is still acting kind of like a gatekeeper for what kind of options and proposals that can be shared and voted on the DAO. So there won't be a case where the network stability will be compromised, right? There won't be a case where the protocol will shut down because some guy took over all the votes. So currently, that is how we are approaching it. Over time, we obviously want to give more power to our community and the KNC holders. But for now, as an initial stage, when the space is not as mature as we would like it to be, this is how we are approaching it. But we really admire how projects like Aragon and DAO Stack are also approaching it. And for them, their community might be very familiar with DAOs and governance from the beginning because they did their ICO and their fundraise based on their ideas about DAOs and governance. So their community from the beginning, they're strong, passionate community members that are knowledgeable about it from the beginning. For us, we are focusing more on decentralized liquidity. This governance system is new, so we want to take it one step at a time.
Yeah. The learning curve could be more steep.
Very steep.
Yeah. And one question related to the DAO incentive, or I mean, the what's your idea for let people act in a non-malicious way? So some DAO please users to incentivize them to behave correctly. and there are very a lot of example in this sense. But others, for example, in this sense, Maker disincentivize users to be malicious. I mean that if they behave malicious, they obviously see their, token, the holding that they own will be diluted. So my question for you is, you are using more an approach to incentivize people to go in the good direction, or disincentivize? I mean, they are similar, but basically they are very clear different approaches.
I guess our approach is more on the incentivizing users aspect, because only if you vote do you get the ETH rewards. If you don't vote, your ETH rewards are what you could have gotten will be distributed among the other people who actually voted. So we don't have a mechanism at this point of time, which disincentivize a will from contributing the voting power. So we respect how other projects are approaching it.
Absolutely.
But there are trade-offs in any kind of like voting model, governance model. For us, the trade-off is obviously the Kyber team still has a lot of power and control. And we obviously want to progressively decentralize that, but right now we are aware that we are still the gatekeepers for certain proposals. But like, for example, for Maker's governance model, it could help prevent this kind of manipulation.
Yeah.
For maybe Aragon and DAOstack, DAOstack has very interesting boosting mechanism, right, where you kind of like are guessing whether the proposal will pass or fail by staking gen tokens, and that helps encourage people to vote, to participate in governance, to vote down to proposals which are bad for the system, and boost proposals which are good. So they have many complex mechanisms for that, which are great. But the trade-off obviously is there's a steep learning curve. So there are very few people that we realize in the whole governance space that are actively voting. There's a very small group of passionate people that are doing it, but we hope, at least for ours, given that it's simpler to vote, and we are also providing many options for people to delegate to pools to vote on their behalf, that overall there will be more people voting and taking part in governance on Kyber. Yeah. And that is our approach, and I guess ours is more on incentivizing them to vote rather than disincentivizing them with like penalties. So our KNC staking has no slashing, like how certain nodes, certain blockchains, you run a node, if there's a bad downtime, you get slashed, you lose some tokens. So we don't have any form of slashing. There's no lockup. Certain protocols or platforms, you have to lock it up for 1 week or 2 weeks. If, let's say, the price change or something, you want to withdraw it and to trade it out or sell it, you can't. You have to keep it until the end of the lockup period. For us, if you can withdraw it anytime, right? Even the default staking model, you can withdraw it anytime. Obviously, if you don't keep it within the whole voting period, you might not get like the full rewards. But the thing is, we give you the option, right? You have the option to get the full rewards by locking it up the whole time, but you can withdraw it anytime, 24/7, if you want. There's no lockup, no slashing, and there's no minimum amount that you have to stake.
And are there rewards for those who vote on my behalf?
Sorry. So the rewards will be the same, but those who vote on your behalf will usually take a fee. Right?
Yeah, but so, this fee is a fixed fee, or everyone can choose the fee?
It's up to the pool operator. So let's say, Simone, you want to run a pool, and Emiliano, he delegates to you. You tell him straight out, right? Like, I would take 1% of the rewards, when I distribute it back. And you can even input it in the smart contracts, right? If you use the trustless proxy smart contract or even the pool token method, you can put it there, and so it's very clear for anybody reading the code that okay, yeah, Simone will take this fee if I delegate to him. And on your interface, on your website, you can put it there also. I will take a 1% fee. So that is up to you. We allow, that is up to you.
Yeah, but if the fee is decided by the pool,
the operator,
the smart contract, what are the incentives for people to choose, for example, pool with lower percentage of higher percentage of fees?
I guess the premium, like anything in crypto, right, is how much you trust the smart contracts of the pool. If you are a developer, you can look at it and audit it yourself and okay, this is a good pool. Or you can trust the reputation of the pool. I know you, Simone, you are Emiliano, both of you, if you run a pool, I will be more, willing to delegate rather than, let's say, a pseudo-anonymous guy on Twitter. He said, okay, I'm running a Kyber DAO pool. Please delegate to this address. I will not do that, right? Even if he give me the lowest fee or no fee, for that matter, I still won't put my money there. So, yeah, it depends. It's a business. In a way, it's a free market. It depends on the pool. So we have already gotten some interest from some of our community members who are interested in running like a community pool. So we obviously advise them that even if you run a pool, we know it's better you go get an audit done, right?
Yeah.
Get a developer build it for you, but also get an audit done after that. So at least you can tell people to look at open source the contracts and get an audit done. That is not enough, all right? Put a disclaimer that this is your funds is at risk and all that. But in general, up to you. We want to give you the flexibility.
Yeah.
So earlier, I didn't mention the fourth option.
Oh, great! Another option.
This option, obviously, there are pros and cons. It's a fully custodial option, right? Okay. So if a centralized exchange or staking, there are a lot of staking service providers now in the market, in the space. They are quite reputable, that they stake for other blockchains. If they want to run a pool as a custodial pool, if you trust their brand name, you can just deposit there, and they just, you have an account with them. So you will see your rewards there when you log in, and you can withdraw it anytime. But obviously, they have full control of it. The centralized exchange that they can take, your money and shut down at any time, just like any centralized service. But this is another option if you want. So when
my opinion makes a lot of sense because you are listed in Coinbase, Binance, so they can do this and make some extra money, for the people and for themselves.
I don't know whether they will eventually do it, but in general, that is a possibility. And so if you trust these exchanges, then you can just put it there, and if you want. So we just want to give many of these options when we launch. We hope that there will be all 4 options are available. And if anybody has some interesting ways to work with us to build a different option to run a pool, feel free to reach out, look at our documentation, and we'll be happy to help. So another thing about point 3 that I forgot to mention, recently Aave, they announced that they will support Uniswap pool tokens as collateral, right, on their lending and borrowing platform.
Yeah.
And so before that, usually when you get a Uniswap liquidity pool tokens, you just have to wait and hold and and after that, deposit back to Uniswap to get back your original inventory. So Aave is trying to allow you to use that as collateral to borrow more crypto. So technically, obviously it is not possible at this point in time, but technically the pool tokens for the KNC, the special KNC pool tokens that are minted when you stake KNC in the third option, can be used as collateral in other lending and borrowing platforms like Aave. So that's something interesting that I realized as well.
Okay.
So there are many use cases.
Thanks.
Yeah, it makes
Okay.
sense.
Thanks to highlight this point, because for me, I would like to go ahead with a discussion about cross-chain swap. But for closing this discussion, I was thinking about I'm a very big fan of the rehypothecation concept. So
Sorry, what
reusing
concept?
rehypothecation. So basically reuse staked assets. For example, flash loan is a way to having something that could be a collateral, but use it for doing some operation in a very easy and safe way, to be honest. So my question is, what about if a pool can lend the KNC that they have, and just have some sort of windows that as soon as there is a vote, basically maybe it increase the borrowing interest for KNC. So basically, as soon as I am not using the KNC for voting, I'm lending them out, and then when we are getting close to the to the vote, I will incentivize people to get back. So basically, during the, I mean, KNC doesn't starve because they can be used for lending, for example, but could be used also for exchanging. So I'm thinking about, what about if a pool could put the KNC on as a Kyber reserve? So basically, they could be staked for be used for lending, for I don't know, trading. I'm thinking about Uniswap V2 enable flash loan on top of Uniswap. So what about pools that basically increase the perceived interest rate that the user may receive just for staking for rewards plus these additional services? So what's your idea?
Not too sure about this. I mean, for flash loans, essentially, when you borrow, you need to pay back within the same block, right? So there will be a case where there's some default, right, on the loan. For us, because we allow anybody to withdraw their KNC, at least through the default delegation method, or the staking method, we allow anybody to withdraw KNC anytime. There's no lockup. I don't know whether technically that we can allow, that to be used as collateral as well as the staking, collateral plus reserve for liquidity plus the staking amount that is there in the pool. So I'm not sure about that, but that's interesting.
For
I
me,
mean, I would definitely ask my developer team to see if that is possible, but when Catalyst is launched, at least at the time, it won't be possible.
For me, the easiest example, not just the bigger picture, is think about if I am a pool, people delegates to me or basically give to me the KNC to do the job, and I put them in a Uniswap pool in the meanwhile before the voting. So people receive the trading fees that come up from the trading of KNC, but when we basically there is a vote, basically the pool stake that KNC, so they are not available anymore for trading, and they receive the rewards. So that was the idea.
Okay. So the thing is, in order to get the rewards, the full rewards, you have to actually stake the KNC, whichever options you use, right? You have the KNC has to be staked in the Kyber DAO during that epoch.
And during all the epoch, right?
During, right? And so there's a certain period that you need to stake in order to get the maximum amount that you could have, right? Like, so if some of that is used somewhere else in between,
you don't get the full rewards.
I don't think you can get the full rewards. So what can happen is if there are derivatives, if there are like synthetic tokens that are minted based on the the KNC that is staked on the Kyber DAO smart contracts, maybe, but I'm not sure. That would be like too many layers of obfuscation already. So I'm not sure about that. Yeah, interesting point. But yeah, just to point out that the KNC has to be there. The DAO will actually track on our interface. We'll just show how long more to the next epoch, when did you stake it, and it needs to be there for a certain period in order to claim the full amount. So if you withdraw early, it could be like you don't get like 100% of what you could have.
Okay, so the trade-off basically is how much I can, leverage with external activities and the full rewards. Okay, that's clear. And
you asked something about cross-chain.
That's I was very interesting when I saw the white paper of Kyber about Waterloo project and Peace Relay project, and I think in 2019 or 18, I mean, cross-chain stuff was very, very far away from. But now you see, we have WBTC, we have TBTC, we have PBTC, we are going to have RANBTC. So we are going to have several representatives of BTC, for example, or other assets that live in other blockchains or systems. For example, that Wrapped WBTC was going to launch also Ripple, for example. I don't know what is going on, but it's something that should happen for sure. So my idea is now Kyber lives in Ethereum and basically could exchange this kind of asset too because they live in Ethereum. But what do you think about this kind of assets first? And secondly, what do you think about cross-chain solution, like, for example, swapping using Jelly Swap, for example, or RANBTC or whatever? So do you think that is something that could be attractive, or this is something that is appealing just for, technical reasons?
No, I think it's actually very attractive. And personally for me, apart from Ethereum, Ether and Ethereum tokens, I'm obviously I hodl Bitcoin as well, right? Like, which is
okay. We remove this from the direct YouTube, so no one can. No, I'm joking.
So it's great that there are so many options. So before WBTC, there weren't many options. Maybe there are some which are not that well known. So before WBTC, there was no PBTC, RBTC, TBTC. So it's great that there are so many ways and options for people to actually bring Bitcoin liquidity onto Ethereum and use it. Because WBTC, as you know, the trade-off is, of course, that is still a bit centralized, right? There's a DAO process, there's a governance process, but in terms of custody of the Bitcoin, it's still a bit centralized. But it's very efficient in the sense that it's there. There's already liquidity there. You can actually borrow WBTC or lend WBTC on like Aave, or now WBTCs can be used as collateral on MakerDAO. Yeah. So, but with more options, it means people who are comfortable using provable Bitcoin, right, PBTC or RANBTC or TBTC in the future, they can bring their Bitcoin, whatever Bitcoin that they inventory that they have, and use these options to come onto Ethereum. So it's very exciting, both for Ethereum as well as for Bitcoin users, because at least I know there are a lot of new innovations coming up, like the Lightning Network and all that will help accelerate use cases for Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain. But for now, a lot of the dApp usage, a lot of the developers are on Ethereum. And what better way to use your Bitcoin than to, use any of these options to explore the Ethereum ecosystem. So I think it's very exciting. I don't think it's just a philosophical discussion or like something that people are just pursuing for fun, for research. It's actually usable as well. And the challenge, and also things like Jelly Swap, which has a working implementation already of a swap. I think Bangkok is also working on a few ways for Bangkok is working with PBDC team, I think, on bringing like Bitcoin liquidity to EOS as well. So there are many ways. The challenge right now is liquidity. So even on Ethereum, right, not even talking about this Bitcoin tokens, liquidity among DEXs in the decentralized DeFi space is improving for sure, and there are a lot of aggregators coming which are helping to enhance liquidity overall, but it's still not ideal, right? If we want really mass adoption and use cases and big financial transactions coming in, there needs to be way more liquidity in the DeFi space. So I think it will take some time for this Bitcoin options to gain traction, purely because of liquidity. Like on Jelly Swap, there needs to be more liquidity there. There needs to be, I think they're working on some incentivizing programs to do that. Ren BCTC, when it starts, it will also need liquidity. And yeah, all the options will need that. And what Kyber is trying to do, at least on the liquidity front for Ethereum, is to work with more professional market makers on board. So just a quick sidetrack when it comes to DeFi. So for Kyber, the most common way to contribute liquidity on Kyber is our APRs, right? Our automated price reserve. So this is similar to Uniswap's automated market maker model, where you just put in a certain amount of ETH, a certain amount of tokens, and a certain algorithm will help to dictate the price based on the demand and supply. But apart from these AMM models, which are the most common, or order book systems, for example, those by Oasis Trade or 0x, Kyber has another method of contributing liquidity, which is not very known in the space at all, which is using our Fed price reserve. The name, you don't need to worry about the name, but basically this type of reserves are for advanced market makers, are for professionals, complex advanced market makers that want a very unique, very customizable set of tools, pricing strategies to market make on-chain on DeFi. So one thing that a lot of people don't know in the space is that I think almost half of the volume, and Kyber contributes a lot of volume, right, with very little inventory because our liquidity is good. Almost half of the volume that we do is actually from these Fed price reserves, not from the automated kind of market maker style kind of reserves that we also have. So there's a huge opportunity for professional market making to be done on chain. Recently, Mona L. Lisa from Melon, in her talk, I think on the Ethereum Summit or Dystopia, she mentioned that automated market making is not sufficient, basically, right? For the DeFi space, it's great because anybody can contribute. There's a set algorithm that to dictate the price, but professional market makers they just can't use automated market makers because it's too restrictive. They only can put in liquidity and watch what happens, right? They need something where they can actually actively manage. They need more tools to do this. And Kyber provides these tools. Not many people know it, but we will slowly educate more people on it. We will work with a lot. And after Catalyst, obviously now we are very focused, heads down on launching Catalyst. But after that, we have many interesting initiatives on bringing really big professional market makers on board, if possible, if they want, right? They have to obviously work with us, but we think this is a big opportunity for DeFi to bring liquidity there. And Kyber has like this set of tools to allow that. Yeah, because almost half of volume, or at least a huge bulk of our volume actually comes from manual market making, not from automated market making. And more profit, there are more profit opportunities actually for liquidity providers using manual market making because you get to control the pricing anytime.
And these market makers that you have are the project themselves or independent market makers?
usually independent market makers. So they are the ones that have a team who are focused on just market making, either on centralized exchanges or decentralized exchanges. The space is small, but that's because a lot of them don't know the benefits of market making on chain. So when you market make on the centralized exchanges, right, the space is very competitive now, very saturated. There are a lot of market makers on Binance or P or wherever, right? Like there are so many centralized exchanges there that are market making for different tokens. So the profit spread is actually small. They go by volume. They need a lot of volume on centralized exchanges because they are much faster than right now than the DEXs. So they go by volume, by very small margin. But there's a huge opportunity in the DEX space right now, let's say by working with Kyber to earn better profit margin. Opportunities, of course, is not guaranteed, but there's a lot of opportunity because the space is now nascent. There are not many competitors. If you're one of the first few that come in, there's a chance for you to market make on DEXs and on chain.
Yeah, I understand. But my question is, for example, if I want to do market making in Kyber right now, can I do that, as you said, with the possibility to manage my money in all pairs, or there are some pairs where I cannot do that because they have special features?
I think technically you can use multiple pairs, but usually for the token teams, right? Let's say since they have a APR, Kyber, automated price reserve. So for token teams, like REN as well, also has one. So for token teams, we usually encourage them to use the automated price reserve because they don't have a dedicated trader in their team, right? Just to manage a liquidity pool. They want to just provide liquidity for their tokens with the best possible price to our whole ecosystem of 100 over dApps. But they don't want to manage day to day, the price change and then set a new price parameter and all that. Token teams usually don't want to do that for convenience. So we encourage them to use the automated reserve. But for independent market makers, private market makers, that their whole business model is just to market make, they have the expertise, they have the team, the developers, the traders to help them do that. So that is the kind of like difference. But overall, Kyber has basically many different variety of options for you. Automated, we have. This kind of manual market making options and tools, we have it. In the future, it's possible that you can even use our tools to build your own type of reserve. Nowadays, there are interesting reserve types, curve fee, balancer. They use different variations of Uniswap's AMM model, right? They build it from scratch. They use their own models. In the future, you can perhaps use Kyber's tools to also do that. And that is something we think that will really bring a lot of liquidity to the DeFi space that is currently not available and is not possible.
And another question that I have is that based, for example, on your last report, but it's pretty the same, the result, is that more than 60-70% of your volumes are coming from stable coins volumes. So DAI, USDC, USDT. So these are the top three every month, basically, based on volume. And what do you think about a curve, for example? And are you going to structuring something like that?
Do I think about a what? Sorry, I didn't catch the last.
Curve.
Curve finance, yeah.
So for curves, usually it's more like an automated model where it's based on a fixed algorithm or kind of like a chain algorithm where you can change, right? But usually it's more automated. If you're talking about how we want to approach liquidity in the future, I think the general idea is like we want to have many different options for people. I don't know whether we can use the same, like, okay, for example, Curvy, they are providing very good pricing for stablecoin to stablecoin swaps, right? Because I think they don't use ETH as an intermediary token during the swap, and they use a certain curve as well for that. But and Michael is a really intelligent guy, and we're also talking to him about how Curvy works. So I'm not sure whether we will create something like that, or maybe just work with the other talented people in the space, other talented projects in the space to have a composite kind of solution for liquidity providers. But in general, we are very committed to bringing professional market making on chain, and we want to help any of these independent market makers to use any kind of method they want to do that. So yeah, so to your question, I don't have an exact answer for that, but in general, we want to work with many projects to support the best liquidity possible.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I think that we discussed many things. I mean that we started from the bonds of Kyber, go through the recent releases, and we approached also the interesting challenges about cross-chain and market making. And we would like maybe to discuss maybe next times about ETH2. So what will happen with sharding or the new Ethereum to Kyber? But I think that will be a general discussion also with other DeFi players.
When we have more confirmed
date,
I guess, and then you can think of the questions for that. But talking about like what's that, like scaling, right? We have seen ETH2 essentially is about scaling Ethereum, and of course other kind of optimization. We are starting to see projects like Loopring, using like ZK rollups for the exchanges, Synthetics also looking at optimistic rollups, Unipick. So there are a lot of innovation in that space, and it's great. And we are obviously following all these innovation very, very closely every day. But I mean, we'll have to see, because a lot of these are experimental at this point in time. And obviously, we will see how it goes. And in the future, we might implement them, we might not, but we will definitely look into them very deeply for that. I have a question for you guys for DeFi Italy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
for Northern, where are most of your community members from? Who are the people very interested in blockchain? Northern Italy or Southern Italy, or or in the middle, like Rome?
It's hard to answer to this question, because we have our community on Telegram, and we don't know personally where they come from. It seems more in the north than in the south, but for example, me, I'm from the south and not in the north. So
Which part are you from?
Near Rome.
Oh, okay. And Emiliano?
Emiliano is Milan.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I've been to Milan. Love it.
Yeah, thank you.
Very beautiful city too.
Yeah, and we are, for example, discussing every day in our community about the staking opportunities. For example, a lot of discussion on synthetics, on Kyber Network, or the last option that the pool together introduced the possibility to participate based on the pool in the price. So it's really cool. So I think that we received one question, but we made during the call, so it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't have any other question. You, Emiliano?
No, I don't have. So what you already asked us something. I mean that usually our last question is if you have any question for us. So if you have any other related, I don't know, maybe to other questions, feel free to do. Otherwise, we can close the live.
Maybe just one last question. So where do you guys like in Italy, right, see DeFi taking off? Like what kind of applications? So personally for me, when I was much younger, in student days, I played World of Warcraft. I really appreciate how gamification can really be a killer app, right? For gamification combined with some kind of like a financial primitive can be a really good killer app in the future. I don't see one that is doing some apart from maybe like Pool Together, which is a reason why it's getting very popular. There's a lottery element, but also with DeFi and a way to earn through compound. So I think that is one area where the intersection between gaming and finance, where DeFi can really take off. But let me know what you guys think, like Simone and Emiliano.
Please, Simone, start.
Yeah, this is a really good question, Sean. Our feeling is that people start to be more interested in DeFi for the interest rate that could be earned lending DAI. So Compound or the MakerDAO DSR, Chai, in my opinion, attracted a lot of people because they maybe had USDT or USDC. They convert this in DAI and they lend DAI and earn a percentage here. But right now, with a market that is going, that has been, bearish in the last months, the interest rates went to zero, basically. And the interest for the lending pools has been, drawing in the past months, and people start to be more interested to other stuffs, like for example staking, or to understand more how the protocol works, like Kyber or Uniswap or the Uniswap pool, for example. So other opportunities to earn money, because right now they are already inside and they want to understand more, because for example there are something that it's pretty simple to understand, like Aave, like a Compound. There are something that it's more difficult or hard to understand, like synthetics, like Curve, like Uniswap pools. It's a bit more complicated. Yeah, this is my feeling.
Nice.
Yeah, for me, I see two classes of usages that could be very, very trendy. First of all, I think that all the lending opportunities that we have in the DeFi ecospace could be very attractive for youngsters, but not only youngsters, if we are able to ship this kind of feature with the easiness of platforms like Dharma. I know many people here in Milan that use Dharma, and they like to participate without lowering the learning curve, because it's very steep. So they start thinking about, okay, I'm lending something through a protocol, and then maybe going ahead with some more complete financial product. Revolut, that you can save money. So I see very, very close that youngsters and others, thanks to the traditional fintechs, could be very, very near to this. The other stuff for DeFi, it's related to non-profit and local communities. I think that sometimes some people or some communities are not able to, access to traditional finance tools or instruments, because they are too far away, that there should be too many intermediaries and so on. So I think that DeFi could help to let access to this kind of stuff, more related, for example, to lending. This is the first use case, but also for exchanging stuff. For example, I liked a lot the initiative of Affogato, that basically want to help people that produce coffee to be able to put some part of what they grow, what they deliver, as collateral for receiving funds. And thanks to the tokenization, the fact that you can put on Uniswap and doing, there is no one that you just need to do a transaction and you are done, or thanks to the openness of other platforms you can do. And so I see these two fields that we could be developed in the near future. That's
nice,
all.
cool. Thanks for sharing. Good to know your perspective as well.
So Shane, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me
here. Thank you.
Yeah, I learned a lot from you guys
let's
as
keep
well.
updated for all the projects that we are following and for the last updates of all the Kyber Network. Thank you. Bye, Shane.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye, Sean.
Thank you. Bye bye.